Hey everyone and welcome. Firstly, don't forget to like, subscribe and share everyone. It really helps me evade the YouTube algorithm. We all know what that one is now. And let me know your thoughts as well in the comments. I'd really appreciate that. Right, in this video we look at the insane authoritarianism in the Times from a journal called Claire Foges, and it's titled "We Need Big Brother to Beat the Virus. Don't let the civil liberties lobby blind us to the fact that greater state surveillance, including ID cards, is required."
And I do believe that we have rotten politics, and I'm not using that as an exaggeration. Rotten politics in this country at the moment.
Now, normally I would consign this article to the clown world bin, but absolute lefty nut jobs, reserved for those articles that don't contain any sort of logic, like Guardian articles. And trust me, that bin overfloweth. But for three very simple reasons I haven't done, and I've brought it to you. And they are very worrying reasons in my opinion. Now, the first reason is, we'll have a quick look at Claire's bio, shall we? Now, Claire Foges is, you read her, speechwriter for the Prime Minister. Yep, you heard that right. This woman is speechwriter for the Prime Minister. Claire Foges is a speechwriter whose work at 10 Downing Street has earned her the title the Prime Minister's Larynx. She drove an ice cream van in Guildford before working in the Westminster office of John Hayes MP in 2006. Within a year, she'd moved on to work full-time for Boris Johnson's mayoral campaign, and she began working for David Cameron in 2008 and drafted his much-anticipated speech on Europe in January 2013. So we've ascertained that she works at number 10 for the Prime Minister. Let's have a quick look at David Cameron's speech, shall we? We'll just highlight the last closing passage. Let me finish today by saying this. I have no illusions about the scale of the task ahead. I know there will be those who say the vision I have outlined will be impossible to achieve, that there is no way our partners will cooperate, that the British people have set themselves on a path to an inevitable exit, and that if we aren't comfortable being in the EU after 40 years, we never will be. Well, that's very true. But I realise to take such a defeatist attitude either for Britain or for Europe, because with courage and conviction I believe we can deliver a more flexible, adaptable and open European Union in which the interests and ambitions of all of its members can be met. With courage and conviction I believe we can achieve a new settlement in Britain which can be comfortable and all our countries can thrive. And when the referendum comes, let me say now that if we negotiate such an agreement, I will campaign for it with all my heart and soul. And we voted out, because I believe something very deep, that Britain's national interest is best served in a flexible, adaptable and open European Union, and that such a European Union is best with Britain in it. Now, from that passage in the speech for the referendum, you can tell where her loyalties lie. It does sound like she's more EU orientated than Britain orientated, does it not? Now, the third reason is because she's been described as the Prime Minister's larynx, i.e. she writes the speeches for Boris, which means she's in the back pocket of Boris. So we'll read this truly disturbing piece of authoritarian ideology wrapped in a humanitarian disguise, and then you tell me if you're not slightly unnerved by this woman. Let's read. Hands in the air, step away from the Easter eggs. The Keystone Coppery of recent weeks has had some people muttering darkly that we are heading the way of a police state. Those who style themselves as defenders of ancient British liberties will soon have bigger fish to fry. The digital surveillance tools that government hopes to use to trace the infected prepare for dire warnings of state intrusion and an avalanche of 1984 quotes on social media warning that Big Brother is upon us. And yet you're calling for Big Brother, love. You not see the hypocrisy there? If you're saying that we're going to be all screaming on social media that 1984 is here, it's because you're ushering in 1984, maybe. Yet if we are to be a path out of this pandemic without destroying our economy, too late. Overblown concerns about threats to our liberties must be countered by pragmatism. To recover some semblance of normality before a vaccine is found, we must accept the need for the state to access more information about ourselves, our health and our whereabouts, and not waste precious weeks arguing about it. Now, just from the first two passages, you can see where this is going, can't you, everyone? This is authoritarianism, and she's actually using this virus, lurgy, whatever you want to call it. YouTube have made that so that you can't call it what it actually is called, to actually further her personal opinions and her personal authoritarianism. Am I wrong? Look east to how digital surveillance is an integral part of returning to normal life. Here we go. She's advocating for the Chinese secure credit system here. Hong Kong has mandatory tracking wristbands for those in quarantine. In Taiwan, the phone tracking system is known as an electronic fence. Those who are meant to be in isolation will be visited by the authorities if their phone is turned off. In South Korea, the pooling of data from credit card use, mobile phones and CCTV cameras means that they can detail the movements of an infected citizen down to where they sat in the cinema and which bar they went to for a beer in afterwards, and in less than 10 minutes can trace and contact the woman who was sitting 2 stools down. Public support for these measures is high for the simple reason that they're all insane. Sorry for that outburst there, but do you not see this as absolute insanity? The people that are calling for these sort of measures will suffer the most. I guarantee it, for the simple reason that they are working. No, it's not the simple reason that they're working. It's because the whole of the last 40 years under the EU has been about mollycoddling the entire population, so we're incapable of doing things for ourselves anymore. In the West, proposals nowhere near as strong as these are meeting serious opposition. Edward Snowden, oh here we go, a very clever man, patron saint of the paranoid. Oh here we go. She's so amazingly intelligent, she can totally disregard completely everything someone says because she doesn't think of them as intelligent enough. That's what this is. Has warned the digital remedy for this disease will become a disease itself, and that's exactly what I've been saying from the very start. If we allow our freedoms to be eroded, they will continue to take our freedoms, and then we'll be starting to think 1984 looks like a bloody picnic. Oh my lord, this woman. Remaining long after we've been given all clear for Lurga. Privacy advocates across Europe are determined to thwart what they see as unacceptable levels of state intrusion. It is unacceptable levels of state intrusion, whether you like it or not. Last month there was an outcry in Germany over plans to require mobile phone operators to hand over customer data, forcing the government to pull the proposals and go back to the drawing board for a softer, voluntary alternative. Expect similar tussles in Britain, where civil liberty pressured groups are particularly noisy, as demonstrated a few years ago by their successful rebranding of a perfectly sensible piece of legislation known as the Snoopers Charter. And yes, that is as ominous as it sounds. Go and check it out, guys, if you want to know what that is. Any moves to use our data for public health purposes is bound to stir up complaints. Indeed, when a new NHS contract tracing app was announced last week, the former head of MI5, Lord Evans of Weardale, said it was a very intrusive set of proposals that would be a real intrusion into people's private lives. Such dark warnings seem strangely out of date in an age when we all endlessly volunteer data about ourselves. No, we don't volunteer data about ourselves. It is siphoned by tech companies. It isn't volunteered at all. Unthinkingly click I agree, not everybody does that, to the box that pops up with every website we visit and send information about our wants and desires to big tech companies. No, we do not send our wants and desires. Big tech companies have abused our data numerous times, have they not? See, this woman knows these facts. It's not rocket science, this. She knows exactly what has been going on with the big tech companies, and she's pretending that it's not going on and that we're voluntarily giving them all of our information. To be comfortable selling our digital souls to Facebook and co, and not to our government, which has a clear and life-saving reason for wanting some basic information. Can I just say, any government is not clear in its life-saving reasonings. You absolute moron. The real problem with the NHS app, as proposed, is that it doesn't go far enough. It has 2 major flaws. First, it relies on self-diagnosis, which, given the number of hypochondriacs out there, so because there's a 0.0001% of the population that feel hypochondriac, we've all got to suffer for it, is it? Is that what you're trying to say? Behave yourself. Will be painfully inexact. Such a system needs to be paired with testing on a huge scale to be of any real use. The second issue, that this is voluntary. To be properly effective, over 80% of smartphone users must take it up. A heroically ambitious target, given that Singapore's similar Trace Together app only had a take-up of 12%. The government, you ready for this one? This is where it gets dark. The government must explore less comfortable terrain beyond voluntarily downloaded apps. Last week, a draft memo was leaked suggesting that alternatives included making use of existing apps and other functions already installed on people's phones. So basically, they'll be installing stuff shadow-wise, so that you won't know it's there, it'll just be there. Time to ditch your phones, people. Following the leak, the Health Service's digital wing fell over itself to deny this. To be very clear, there have never been such plans. Bullshit. I call bull crap on that one. What do you call on that one, everyone? That was a mass chorus of bullshit. Why should such defensiveness be necessary? Using smartphone tracking because it's used against us regularly, love, isn't it? Using smartphone tracking with all the expected caveats about ensuring anonymity seems a perfectly proportionate measure given that thousands are dying and parts of our economy are being read for last rites. Can I just say, you said earlier on in this same article that we give all of our information to the tech companies, and now you're trying to make out that it's all going to be anonymous, are you? Do you actually read your articles in full once you've finished, or do you just write them a paragraph at a time on a day at a time, and you just chuck them all together hoping it all makes sense, which, to be honest, so far it isn't doing. Not in a long shot. Indeed, last week an Ipsos Mori poll found that 65% of people agreed with using smartphones. Ipsos Mori poll is a one-sided bias poll, so and they could only just muster 65% of that. I bet if you did a cross-the-country poll, you would be extremely gutted at the response. Freedom matters in this country. It always has. Our ancestors fought and died for it, and we will not give it up for any reason. Period. With using smartphones to identify those who had been diagnosed and work out who they had been into contact with. That's because the media have been filling everyone's heads with lies to say that it wouldn't be used alongside your identity. Well, that's obviously rubbish. The amount of information that is on the tinterwebs from people now, it would always be used as a way to tie into your name. How could it be even used? This is the problem, you see. If it was anonymous, how would they trace people? You understand what I mean by that? Why would they be able to trace people if it was anonymous? Yeah, exactly. Another idea that may rise the heart rate of privacy campaigners, but which would be useful in UK's recovery from the crisis, is biometric ID cards. We've heard this one before, haven't we, everyone? We've fought this one before, and we'll be quite happy to fight it again. The Health Secretary has suggested that down the line, immunity passports may be used to prove the status of those who have overcome the virus. And this is where the credit score thing comes in, everyone. If they have biometric ID cards and then they also have immunity passports, then they will also be restricting you if you don't. I'll let that sink in. If you don't have a passport or an ID card, they will restrict you from buying food, going in buildings, going to work, eating, surviving, etc., etc. Is this not sounding like China and more as we get through the article? You see why I wanted to bring it to you, everyone? Yet wouldn't these be too vulnerable to forgery or theft? Far better to have an unforgettable, untransferable, unique document. ID cards would also provide a much richer source of data with which to trace the infected. And then once we've got rid of the lurgy, then what would they be used for? To trace everybody else, the people that they don't like, the people with the wrong think, the people with the wrong talk, the people that are not doing as they told and not towing the line? Because I think that's exactly where it would go. They never give up the power they gain, everyone. They never give up the power they gain. They might rebrand it, but they'll never give it up. South Korea's comprehensive national identity system has been an important part of its success. The creation of a national ID card system would not exactly be fast work, but who knows how long this crisis will continue or if future pandemics will occur. See, this is the problem I've got. If we're in lockdown now and they don't come up with a vaccine, and then it happens again in 3 months, 2 months, 1 month, 12 months, 2 years, every 3 months. You see where I'm getting with this? Are we going to shut down forever? Besides, this is a good idea beyond the current crisis. Here we go. A stone to kill multiple birds. From voter fraud to welfare abuse, identity theft to illegal immigration. See, this is the problem, isn't it? She's using our own side's issues against us here. Well, don't fall for it. It's got nothing to do with any of those. It's to track us. Housing and healthcare will be much harder to melt into anonymity. There will always be a high-profile huffing and puffing about such measures, but under that noise is the quiet pragmatism of the British public who understand that some mild incursions in our privacy, mild, we won't have any privacy if this goes through, be necessary for the sake of public health. Sod your health. I'm sorry, but I do not want to give up my freedom. I would rather take the risk. The most recent poll on the subject found that the majority would support even the compulsory carrying of ID cards. No, that is rubbish. That was used for illegal immigration, and that's why people said they would be happy with the ID cards. It was nothing to do with the lurgy, you disingenuous woman. Britain has been too slow on many fronts in the first weeks of this crisis. Compared to who? We must now take seriously the example of other nations who have successfully restored some normality to life. Compared to who? And rapidly develop a system of digital surveillance that is comprehensive and useful enough to map and break chains of infection extremely quickly, and also map and break chains of wrong thinkers extremely quickly. I very much am against this in every way, shape and form. I really think this will be used against everybody in this country in a bad way, and I really do think that this should be fought at every opportunity. Now, I would normally just, like I say, contain this to the loony bin, as I like to call it, where I put all of the absolutely insane articles, because that's what this is. But this is the Times, everyone. And from what I said earlier on, this woman has got the ear of Boris Johnson. Now, if you're not worried at this point that this is what is the signs of what is to come, I think you're a lot calmer than I am. But let me know what you think, everyone. Do you think that this is way too far? Do you think we should refuse? At the end of the day, policing in this country and the ability to force is very limited. If the people remove our consent for policing, they can't police us. It's as simple as that. This is an absolute disgrace, in my opinion. It looks like every single country in the world is now looking to China and thinking, oh, that's a good idea. I think we need to drain the swamp. Take it in the immortal words of Donald Trump, we need to drain the swamp. Well, anyway, that's the end of the article. It is quite a long one, this one, but there was quite a bit to cover. Let me know what you think, like I say. If you're new, don't forget to hit the like. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell icon for more videos in the future. And if you are a regular to the channel, don't forget to share it out for us, everyone. And I'll see you on the next one. Stay safe.